வாய்ஸ் ஆடிபிளா இருக்கா?
Yes, sir.
நான் இருபத்தி ஆன்சர் பண்ணேன். வாய்ஸ் ஆடிபிளா இருக்கா?
Yes, sir.
தம்பி வாய்ஸ் கேக்குதான்னு சொல்லுப்பா கொஞ்சம். Okay. So let us start. I think you are also viewing my sharing of screen. So far we have seen the design of brakes. So in that plate clutches were seen. So in the plate clutch you have single plate or multi plate depending upon your torque transmitting capacity requirement. So you may use either minimum number of plates or more number of plates. Okay. So in that case, so you have another variety of clutches. Okay, so you have another variety of clutch called cone clutch. Okay, so in the single plate or multi plate clutch, the axial force was perpendicular to the frictional surfaces. So you may see that here. So this is the clutch. So in the case of single plate or multi plate clutch, so the axial force is perpendicular to the friction surfaces, whereas in the case of cone clutch, it is not perpendicular. This is the perpendicular. So the surfaces are at some inclined angle. So the purpose of this inclination is to have the minimum effort by the operator. Okay, so that is what these cone clutches will offer uh, as an advantage. Okay, and these are all we have already seen. The problems are also we saw. So the formula for both plate clutches and cone clutches are same, except that you have a trigonometric term called sin alpha or cos alpha. Okay. So this relation you have already seen. So the clutches should be uh, designed based on either uniform pressure or uniform wear. So the purpose of this condition is to uh, have certain assumptions on either the clutch is wearing uniformly or it is applied with the uniform pressure. Okay, so that is the main purpose. That is the main purpose of this assumption. Okay, so now the torque transmitting capacity of the clutch. So we saw already this is the coefficient of friction time, and here it is normal load. So okay, so since the load is acting at an inclined direction, so you should assume a normal load, and this is the mean radius of the frictional surface. You have one more term added with it, that is cosecant alpha. So as far as the cone clutch is concerned, you just add this cosecant alpha. So in both the uniform wear and uniform pressure condition. So the mean radius for uniform wear condition is this much, and the mean radius for uniform wear condition is this one. Okay, so you may use RM as this one and this one, depending upon either you are considering uniform pressure condition or uniform wear condition. Okay, and for this cone clutch, so you need a axial force. So the axial force will be applied like this. Okay, so you should apply axial force to engage the clutch as well as the disengage the clutch. Okay, so in the case of clutch, the initial engagement will be done by means of the spring force, I think. Okay, when you press a pedal, so these springs are getting compressed, and you have clearance between the friction surface and the contact material, so that it releases. So for both the cases, you need to have some force. So during engagement, you should use this relation. During disengagement, you should use this relation. Okay, so as far as the design of clutches are concerned, so you have to use only these two relations. Ultimately, you will be finding out the torque transmitted by that clutch. Okay, so this is about the some introduction of your cone clutch. Okay, so you have this cone shaped friction material, and you have what do you call counterpart material, and you have friction materials attached onto the uh, minimum length of your cone. Okay, so here the friction surface will not be here. Okay, so you have only friction surfaces on the two ends. Okay, so with the lesser frictional surface, you may have higher amount of torque transmitted. So that is the main purpose of this cone clutch. Okay, and let us have a problem on the cone clutch. So this following data relate to a cone clutch. Cone clutch. So you have minimum and maximum surface contact radii as 125 mm and 150 mm respectively. And you have semi-cone angle as the 20-degree. Allowable normal pressure is 14 into 20 power of 4 Newton per meter square. And friction is 0.25. So here you need to find the axial load and power transmitted if the speed is 700 rpm. So the engine is running at the rpm of 700. So at that condition, what is the axial load required to disengage the clutch? Okay, and what will be the power transmitted? Okay, so if it is running at 700 rpm, so and so as usual, you must look for numerical values in a given problem. So this is what always we are seeing: 125 mm, 150 mm, 20 degree, 14 into 20 power of 3, 4 Newton per mm square, 0.25, 700 rpm. These are all the simply some numerical values. So first one is 125 mm. So 125 mm is the minimum radii, that is our inside radii of the frictional material. Okay, that is Ri, and 150 is the outer radii of the frictional material. Okay, and 20 degree is the semicone angle, that is alpha. Normal pressure acting on the clutch is 14 into 20 power of 4 Newton per meter square. Speed is 700 rpm. Okay, So now the axial load transmitted by the clutch is this much. Okay. So pi into Pn. Pn is the axial pressure, and R naught is the outer radius, Ri is the inner radius. Okay. So on substitution of all this value, so Pn is 14 into 10 to the power of 4. R naught is 150 mm, 0.15 in meter. Ri is the 0.125 in meter. Okay. So this will be the uh, uh, axial load transmitted by the clutch, 3023 Newton, nearly 302 kg. Okay. So that is what the axial torque, axial load transmitted by the clutch. So that is what the first subdivision. Okay. So next you need to find the power transmitted. So at the speed of 700 RPM. So as you know, always power will be followed by the RPM. So here the assumption is a uniform pressure condition. Okay. So assuming uniform pressure condition, so the torque transmitted will be this much. Okay. So here you need to use the Rm for uniform pressure condition. So for uniform pressure condition, mean radius is 2 by 3, R naught 3, R naught power 3, Ri power 3, R naught square, Ri square. Okay. So if you substitute here, you will have this relation. And the coefficient of friction is 0.25. Axial load is 3023.78 Newton. R naught is 0.15. Ri is 0.125. So on substitution, and alpha is 20 degree. On substitution of all those things, you will get the torque transmitted by the clutch, cone clutch, as 304.73 Newton meter. Okay. So if you know the torque, you have the power relation. Substitute this torque into this power relation. Speed is given as 700 RPM. So the power transmitted by the clutch is 23.34 kilowatt. Okay. If it is of uniform wear condition, only the RM will change. RM will be R naught plus Ri by 2. The other things are constant. Okay. So these derivations and all, we need not bother about these derivations. Okay. So that is the design of cone clutch. So next topic we have to see is the brakes. So brakes and clutches are functioning as a same. Okay, because the clutch is also working on the principle of friction. Brake is also working on the principle of friction. So brakes are used to stop the vehicle. Clutches are used to connect or disconnect the engine and wheel. Okay, so both are acting on the same principle. Okay, but the varieties are somewhat different. So in the case of what do you call clutches, you have plate clutch and cone clutch only. So in the case of brakes, so you have some different cases. Okay, so first of all, what do you mean by brake is nothing but, so it is a device by means of which artificial frictional resistance is applied to a moving machine member, like applying brake on an automobile. So there is a moving member called brake shoe, brake drum. So into which you are applying an artificial frictional resistance by means of brake. Okay. So why we do this is to retard or stop the motion of a machine. Okay. So mainly the capacity of brake depends upon certain factors. Okay. So that is nothing but the unit pressure between the braking surface and the coefficient of friction between the braking surface. If you have more coefficient of friction, so the efficiency will be higher. So and the peripheral velocity of the brake drum is also one of the factor which decides the brake capacity or size. Okay, and the ability of the brake to dissipate heat equivalent to the energy being absorbed, that is also one of the important factor. So the energies absorbed during the braking motion should be dissipated as a heat. Okay, so if that brake lining material or brake material is not able to dissipate the amount of heat generated, so the braking material will lose its life very soon. So generally, the brakes, according to the means used for transforming the energy, may be classified as hydraulic brake, hydraulic brake, electrical brake, mechanical brakes. Okay, so in the case of hydraulic brake, pumps and hydrodynamic brake or fluid agitators are used. So electric brakes are applied by means of eddy current. Okay, and mechanical brakes, you know that by means of linkages and systems, these mechanical brakes are actuated. So you are pressing a lever by means of hand or foot, so then that force is applied to the brake shoe. That brake shoe once again offers the frictional resistance to the rotating drum. Okay, so that the motion of the vehicle gets stopped. So the mechanical brakes will be generally seeing as design. Okay, so it may be further classified according to the direction of acting forces. Okay, so either the forces are acting radially or axially. It may be classified as a radial brakes or axial brakes. Okay, so in the case of radial brakes, the force acting on the brake drum is subdivided into external brakes or internal brakes. Okay, uh, either the frictional shoes are acting internally or externally, so it may be further classified. Okay, and axial brakes, so here the force acting on the brake drum is axial in the axial direction, like your multiple clutch, like that. Okay, and axial brakes may be disc brakes or cone brakes. Okay, so like disc clutch and cone clutch. And this analysis part is similar to all clutches. Okay, so apart from the classification based on the uh, force acting, like a radial brake and axial brake, so you have some other variety, so like band brake. So in the brake a dynamometer. So in dynamics of machines, you may have seen this. So there will be a pulley rotating it, around which you will have either rope or belt, okay, or band. So the band is suffering higher resistance due to the higher area of contact. Okay, like our handbrake in automobiles, no. So that is nothing but your band brake. Okay, uh, so here it is called as a simple band brake because one of the band is attached at the fulcrum. So if one of the band end is attached at the fulcrum, then it is called as a simple band brake. So here this was the rotational direction of the drum. Okay, so if the rotation direction is like this, so this will be pulled and this will be pushed. Okay, so that will be the happening. Okay, so in this case the force should be like this. So in order to engage this band and drum, so you have to engage a force. Okay, so uh, the application of force mainly depends upon certain distances, like this a c. These two distances decides the amount of effort applied. So always when you increase this distance, it is enough to have minimum number of forces applied. Okay. So this is a simple band brake. So here one end of the band is attached to the fulcrum. So you have another variety that is called a differential band brake. There the band end, one end of the band is not attached at the fulcrum. Okay, so it is away from the fulcrum with a distance of s. Okay, so c, s, c, a are the distances. Okay, so the advantage of this brake compared to simple band brake is to have minimum effort. Okay, so the operator can apply minimum force to engage the brake. Okay, so that is what called differential band brake. So you have another variety. So these are all mechanical brakes because the devices are simply mechanical elements, and they are applied or operated so as to give the retardation motion. Okay, so the next one is the single block or shoe brake. Okay, so here yeah, wheel, what do you call, drum is rotating, and over which you are applying a block. Okay, so in order to apply this block, so you need to have a lever. So the lever is attached at a fulcrum, and effort is applied at the free end. Okay, so due to the application of this p, this block and drum will have contact with each other, so you will have the frictional resistance along this line, and this frictional resistance will arrest the movement of the wheel. Okay, so for that you need to have certain terms. So here Rn is the normal force, Ft is the tangential force, and the wheel radius is r, and the angle subtended by this block is 2 theta. Okay, the block is mainly made up of asbestos or cork material. That only we have higher heat transferring capacity. So it will have more thermal conductivity, so that the heat generated during the frictional movement will be dissipated to the atmosphere very soon. Okay. So here the motion of the drum may vary either on the clockwise or on the counterclockwise. So this is the clockwise rotation. So if the drum rotates like this, tangential force will be acting along this direction. Whereas if you see here, so the anti-clockwise rotation of the brake wheel is happening, and the frictional resistance will be acting along this direction. Okay, so you may have both the varieties, either the clockwise rotation or anti-clockwise rotation. The best example is to have the movement of the vehicle in the forward and reverse direction. The another kind of brake, so which is commonly used in all automobiles like bikes, cars, and all. So that is the internally expanding shoe brake. So here you have a hollow rotating drum. So this drum will be hollow. So this will be rotating, so into which you have the brake lining and brake shoes. So these brake shoes are actuated by the hydraulic actuator. Okay, so when you actuate this, so the brake shoes will move in this direction, so that it makes the contact of your brake lining with the drum. Okay, so it arrests the movement of the drum. So this is the internally expanding shoe brake. So this is commonly used in all automobiles. Okay, so particularly in two wheelers and four wheelers. In general, band brakes are used for non-automobile applications. Okay, so in some cases, for example, if you want to stop a machine, so you may use the band brake instead of internal expanding shoe brake. Okay, so compared to the internal expanding brake, band brake has the easy maintenance. So one of the advantage is the easy maintenance of the uh, band. Okay, and you may have the problems on block brake and band brake. So here you don't have any definite formula. So simply taking moment about a fulcrum is the only thing you need to know to solve these kind of problems. Okay. So and you have one more criteria called the equivalent coefficient of friction. So if the contact angle is greater than 60 degree, okay, sorry, greater than 60 degree, then you need to find the equivalent coefficient of friction. So for finding out the equivalent of coefficient of friction, you have this relation. So the other things are very simple, and it is very easy to follow as well. So if you know only the taking of moment about a fulcrum, so it is very easy. Okay, and the problem is like this: a single block break is shown in the figure like this. The diameter of the drum is 250 rpm, and angle of contact is 90 degree. So this the 2 theta is 90 degree. Okay, if the operating force of 700 Newton is applied at the end of the lever, and the coefficient of friction between the drum and the lining is 0.35, determine the torque that may be transmitted by the block brake. So how much torque this kind of block brake may be transmitting, that is what they are asking. So, like other unit, you don't have the definite relations and the data book for the design of clutch and brakes. So, you have to follow this moment taking method. Okay, equivalent moment method. So, as usual, identify for the numerical values 250 mm, 90 degree, 700 Newton, 0.35. That's it. Okay. So 250 mm is the diameter of the drum D, and the radius will be 125, and the angle subtended is 90 degree. So 2 theta is uh, 90 degree. So it may be pi by 2 radian. Okay. So in some cases you may use the degree as such. In some cases you need to convert it to radian. Okay. And P is the 700 Newton, mu is the 0.35 coefficient of friction. So here you have to you follow a thumb rule. When the angle of contact 2 theta is greater than 60 degree, you must find this equivalent coefficient of friction. So for that you have this relation. You need to remember this relation. 4 mu sine theta by 2 theta and sine 2 theta. So here it should be in radian. Here it should be in degree. So you should remember these two things very clearly. Okay. Here 4 uh, coefficient of friction is 0.35 and theta is 45, so sine 45. The power போயிடுச்சு ஒரு நிமிஷம் வெயிட் பண்ணுங்க. So the drum is rotating in the anti-clockwise direction. So the frictional force will be acting like this, and the distance between the fulcrum and the frictional force distance is 50 mm, and from fulcrum to normal force, Rn is the normal force distance is 200 mm. From normal force to the force acting at the end is 250 mm. Okay, and the radius is 125 mm. Okay, so this tangential braking force can be determined using this relation, that is mu into Rn. So here it is a mu dash, because the theta is greater than 60 degree, 2 theta is greater than 60 degree, so you must find mu dash. So for tangential braking force will be mu dash into Rn. Okay, so now let us take a moment about fulcrum O. In the fulcrum. So it is 250 and 200 plus. So this will be this FT and 700 will make a clockwise movement. Okay, so the two will be on the one side. Okay, so FT don't know, we don't know now. So from FT to this fulcrum distance is 50, so that is FT into 50. Then the opposite force is the reactional force, Rn. So this Rn will induce a bending moment like this. Okay, so our twisting moment like this. The Rn and fulcrum distance is 200, so Rn into 200. So if you simplify this, so you will have uh, this Ft by mu dash into 200. So here Ft can be determined using this relation. So the Ft braking torque, tangential braking force will be 670 Newton. Okay, so the force is 670 Newton, and braking torque can be determined by simply multiplying with radius. So torque is nothing but force into radius, that you know. Okay, so torque relation is force into radius. So the braking torque is this much, and braking force is this much. Braking torque is 670 into radius of the drum is 125 mm, so which is 83.75 Newton meter. Okay, and this is the design of simple band brake, sorry, simple block brake. So it is a simple block brake, or if you have only one block, then that is called single block brake. If you have another block on the opposite direction, then it will be double block brake. So this you will see in the tomorrow's class. Okay, and you can leave, so we will see in the next class. So attendance I have taken, so you may leave.